People are filling the room. Welcome, everyone. Hi, John. Hello, Pablo, and we're ready to go.
Okay, thank you, Lily, and welcome, Pablo. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you here on Zoom with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice
welcome.
To be here.
It's great to have you. And so tell us, first and foremost, how are things in Spain? How's life in Spain? Have things started to open up a little bit, or what is the current atmosphere in your country?
Well, now is getting better every day, and all Spain is more open to move. So it's close to open totally 100% all the different provinces in the country. No, so theoretically now is quite well, but well, I think that nobody knows how the virus is working. No, so we must wait. But during many months was very, very difficult situation in Spain. Many people died, and we stay at home permanently during 2 months, 2 months and a half. Nobody can go.
Same here.
So it has been very, very difficult situation. And now, well, now everybody say that in the summer is warmer and the virus is working less. I don't know exactly. I don't know if the doctors know exactly how will be the future.
Have of course, Spain is very well known for its great restaurants and its gastronomy. Have some of the restaurants started to open up with limited capacity or not yet?
Yes. Now, in this moment, I think that they can occupy the 50%.
Okay.
But well, some of them is not open yet because it's difficult for the small space that they have inside. No? But in general, many restaurants is opening again. Mainly in the coast, because I think in a few days the tourists can come again to visit Spain. But but it's difficult to recuperate the situation because Spain receives 80 million people every year, and well, we lose 50% of the year. No, so I think it's difficult. And the people, I think that is worried to come into Spain sometimes. No, it's normal, no, to travel.
A lot of people that will normally travel. You know, I go to Europe every summer, but you know, I'm not going to Europe this summer for obvious reasons. And I think a lot of people, especially international people, will not be traveling. Maybe some people will come from the Europe continent because they can drive and feel safe.
See, I think that from Europe, maybe Germany, from UK, the people is coming to the coast, no, mainly, no. But many people has second houses and they stay during the summer in Spain, no. But
right. Did we lose the sound there for a second, Lily?
For a second, yes, we did.
Is your sound on, Pablo? The sound.
You lost your sound. How did we lose your sound?
Yeah, we lost Pablo's sound for a second. Maybe he got muted. Can you send him a thing to unmute?
He's not muted.
Something happened with the sound. All right. Now unmute.
Hello?
We lost the sound.
Is it the headphones, maybe?
I think maybe you have to exit and go. Oh, wait, there?
Exit?
There, perfect. You're back. You're back.
Okay.
it's okay now?
Yeah, sorry.
I'm so sorry. I am not very familiar with this kind of connection.
That's good. It's okay. We have your wife to the rescue, thankfully, so that's great. and make sure she stays around. So let's talk about the bodegas and the operation. I mean, your family came into Vega Sicilia in 1982. At the time, you were a young man, and were you involved at that time? Was this something your father envisioned, or was it you, or what's the story behind your family becoming involved first and foremost?
Well, the owners before to us, Hans Neumann, he asked in the beginning to my father if he can find somebody that can buy Vega Sicilia in Spain. No? And then my father was looking, and at the end he proposed to Hans Neumann why he don't sell to him the winery. And after 1 year, well, they decide to sell to my father, to my family. And this is the beginning. And from the beginning, I am working in the winery. My father told me that in the beginning I must work in this business, this family business. So I continue after 37 years. No? So, well, I always say that I was very lucky because I was in love of this business. No, it's a very, very nice business, very special, and I like so much. No? And so I think that I am very happy because I am working in something that I like so much, no? That I love.
Right.
So from this moment, I am the general manager or the CEO of the company. We start with Bodegas Vega Sicilia. Today, we have 5 wineries, 4 in Spain and 1 in Tokai in Hungary. And well, we have another project, no? That maybe soon we will have another one winery or what, I don't know exactly, but we are working in that.
Is that in Spain or outside of Spain?
I don't know yet. Oh, I don't know yet.
Is it a flying winery that might be able to go to different areas?
Well,
that's okay. We understand that's top secret. You don't have to tell us just yet. But so yeah, so Vega Sicilia was the flagship, the iconic winery. And then what are some of the other, what's the timeline for you adding other domains, and what are the 5 domains? Well, Vega is one of them, right? And then
the other one, the second one was Allion in 1991. In 1993, we start, after the communist period, we start to work in Tokai.
Okay.
In 2001, we create Pintia in Toro region.
Toro, yeah.
And finally, our last project by the moment is in Rioja. It's the only one project where we have a new one partner, that is Benjamin Rothschild. Benjamin is from the Rothschild family or Rothschild family. He is the main shareholder of Lafite, and he has another wineries in Bordeaux, New Zealand, Argentina, South Africa. And this is the only one, our last project, we have 50% with everyone, 50% Benjamin and 50% us.
Right.
So, and the idea is very easy to say and not very easy to do, no? Is to try to produce the best wine as possible in every place, no?
Right.
But it's necessary many years, no?
And the last project with the Rothschild family is a Rioja, right? So
Rioja, yeah.
So now you have pretty much all the major regions. You have Ribera del Duero, Toro, Rioja. So, I mean, that's very important, I think, for the heritage of Spain.
Yes, because, well, I think that the 2 biggest, the more important region in Spain in red wine is Rioja and Ribera del Duero. No? And we have 3 wineries in the both DOs.
Right. Right. So we're going to first taste the wine from Hungary. So how did that happen? That's an unusual place to go and start. I mean, the Tokajs have long been famous wines, and they're some of the greatest sweet wines in the world. We're going to be having a dry wine, the Mandolas, the ferment from, is Oremus, is how you pronounce it?
Oremus.
Okay. And so why Hungary? What happened? What was the story?
Well, we read in one newspaper that the government from Hungary was thinking to make the privatization of the Tokai region. No? Tokai region is maybe one of the most famous wines in the world during centuries, no? Because it's produced, the sweet wines from Tokai are produced more than 400 years ago. No? And then, well, we thought, and we went to work there. Has been more difficult than in the beginning we thought, because after the communist period, the condition of everything was very bad, really. No? So in Tokai today we have 120 hectares of vineyard that practically the 90% has been necessary to renovate, but we are renovating from 1995. Okay. So has been a difficult work. And the problem of Tokai is that the people don't know that Tokai exists, because during the communist period, the wines was absolutely disappeared from the market. No? Right. Historically and traditionally, the wines from Tokai are sweets, but in 1999, we decided to start to produce one dry wine. That is this Mandolas. Mandolas is the name of the parcel from where is coming the grapes to produce this wine. We was the first winery. Today in Tokai, everybody produce dry wine. Mandolas is 100% ferment. We are really very, very happy. It has been necessary many years because we need to replant the vineyards and to work the vineyards and to know the variety well. But we are very, very happy with the quality and the future of this wine. No?
It's a quite serious wine. Yes. I mean, this is a very impressive, and it's very reasonable. The price, I think, is only about $30 per bottle. It's serious. So, I mean, Mandolas is the terroir. That's like the vineyard or section of region. Yes. Are you the only one that makes Mandolas, or other producers have?
Yes, we are the only ones that we have. All the parcel is called Mandolas, is from us. No? So every year, I think it's more important, this wine. From 3 or 4 years ago, we are working with one consultant in Burgundy. Okay. And I think that the possibilities of this wine is very, very good. No?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm very impressed with, I mean, it's very intense. I mean, this is a wine that retails for $30 a bottle, which is super reasonable for everyday drinking. But it tastes like, you know, a very serious, the monopole kind of wine, you know, that has that intensity and structure. I mean, it's a big, strong wine, but, you know, in a classic kind of way. What are some of the tasty notes that you get out of this wine?
It's a wine very floral. The acidity of ferment is, the acidity in Tokai is fantastic. No, is maybe well, in my modest opinion, is one of the best acidities in the world. No? And the acidity maintain the wines alive long time. No, so
that's what I'm feeling.
These wines, well, our experience is that you can keep 10 years perfectly in bottle. Even more, the great vintage, you can keep more, no? And the 2018 is a great vintage in Tokai, no? And Mandolas is a fantastic Mandolas. It's very fresh, There is it's different because the Furmin is a variety that only exists in Tokai. So you cannot find this variety in another place in the world. So, well, sorry.
There's a unique flavor to it. It has great kind of like this lemon lime citrus intensity that's kind of very good, and the acidity is superb. I mean, this is a very serious wine. I mean, this is a wine that really screams for like food. It's like a food wine. You want to have it with a dinner, and like, you know, I mean, it's very impressive, especially the price. So now I see why you went to Hungary in the first place. But what about the sweet wines now? Are you making less sweet wines and more dry wines as time goes on? Because the sweet wines in the market, the popularity to me seems to be people want more dry wines, it seems. But so how are you, do you find the demand for the sweet wines is still very strong, or are you starting to make more dry wines? What are your thoughts there, and what are you doing? Oh, we lost you again.
I think it has to do with the thing.
There's something on the earphone again, yeah. No, we still, not yet, not yet. We have no we get those high-tech earphones. That's all right, you know. Not yet, no sound yet. We lost the sound again.
I think it may be that he's pinging the.
Is there some setting on
like an on
earphone?
off?
Perhaps a setting on the earphone? No, not yet.
Not yet. What I find really interesting about the ferment, John, is how textural they are. Still not yet.
Yeah, well, the wine is super. I mean, it's really good. We're gonna try to see if we can get Pablo back on. No sound, no.
No sound.
Maybe go out and go back in or something. Something happened before that worked. We,
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Ahora. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
It's okay?
Yeah.
It's okay. We like a little drama.
I cannot hear you now.
Oh.
Quita los altavoces.
Ah,
Okay, mira, es que aquí está en tu MacBook Air, and this is on your Galaxy Buds.
sí.
Take off your Galaxy.
A ver, los quito.
Let's see.
Right, you muted it.
And now can you hear it?
Yes. Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Now
Thank
it's okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I don't...
No problem. It's a little excitement, you know, it's a little drama and intrigue to the tasting.
So, well, I was speaking about the sweets. The
Sweet wines,
dry
yes.
the production is bigger than the sweets are incredible wines, but the market obviously is smaller than the dry. No?
Right.
But we produce the you know, the classification of the sweet wines, no, by putonios. We produce 3 putonios, 5 putonios, 6 putonios, and Esencia de Tokai. Esencia is the more incredible wine. No, don't exist nothing similar in the world. No, is one wine that has close to 500 grams of sugar per liter, but the acidity is between 15 and 20 grams of tartaric. So is something unique. No, the sweet wines are, for me, are incredible wines. No, and but obviously the market is smaller, and we need to show to the wine consumers that Tokai exists, and that Tokai is a great wine. I remember to drink one 1866 5 putonios that I bought in Christie's in New York in one auction, and was fantastic. Now I bought 3 bottles, we opened one, and it's fantastic how still this wine live perfectly and you can drink and enjoy. No, so are fantastic, incredible wines. So. Wow. I'm sorry, my English is a little limited. But
Very good, very good. And I learned that you have 2 bottles left, so I'm thinking about planning a visit to come see you.
If you come to Tokai, we can open another one.
That sounds like a plan. Is it only one dry wine that you make, just the Mandalas, or are there other wines that you're making?
There are a new one that this year will be in the market. It's a small production, but because it's one small parcel that is called Petras. It's a very old parcel, and in the traditional way to maintain the vineyards in Tokai. And is the quality we see in these years, that the quality of this is very special and very different. So we are working in this kind of wine 4 years ago, and I think that even is quite better than Mandolas, no? And the name is Petras, but never stay in the market yet.
It's in the market or not in the market yet?
Not in the market.
Not in the market yet. Okay.
Maybe this year we will give to know to the people this wine, because it's a very, very nice wine. No? It's 17 vintage. We age long time, more long time than Mandolas. But the 17 is a very, very good vintage and a great wine, I think, the Petras.
Well, I think the Mandalas is a great wine, only $30 a bottle, and I recommend everybody pick one up and try it just for something different. It's interesting, and it's like serious, well-made wine. And this is the kind of stuff that excites me, that's like new and different and interesting. So I thank you for sharing that with us. And now we're going to move back to Spain, to the homeland, of course, and the Pintia. We have the 2015, and it's the Toro region, which has become a real buzzy, hot region over the last 10 years, I think, in Spain. But you were there before anybody was even talking about Toro, so obviously you knew about it. And so tell us the story behind this wine.
Well, Toro is a historical region in Spain, no? And traditionally was famous because produced very, very powerful wines, no? Too much alcohol, too much of everything. It's a region is 100 kilometers from Ribera del Duero, from Vega Sicilia, in the same Douro River, but more close to Portugal. It's a curious region because we have here a little bit more than 100 hectares, but in one part of Toro never attack the phylloxera. So we have 75 hectares with no rootstock. It's direct plantation. The variety is Tinta de Toro, but is the Tempranillo or the Tinto Fino. In Spain, the same variety is called in different names, depending, because at the end the wines are different. Ribera del Duero is Tinto Fino, but the personality of Tinto Fino in Ribera is absolutely different from the Toro region, no? And we start in 1998. We start to buy vineyards in Toro. In 2001, we start to produce Pintia. We only produce one wine. But we try to make a wine the more elegant as possible in one rustic region like Toro, no? And we are in the way, no? Every year is a powerful wine, but at the same time is elegant and very fruity. We don't want to age long time in oak because we want to respect the fruit aromas in the wine. Is only aged no more than 10, 11 months in new French and American oak. but it's a very, very fruity, it's very nice wine, no? It's not heavy. It's a wine that has 15 degrees of alcohol, but you don't feel the alcohol in the wine, no?
Yeah, it's very smooth. I mean, it's a little kick there, but and because of the higher alcohol, but you don't feel it. It's not like, oh wow, this is alcoholic. I mean, it's just there's power in it and there's intensity, and of course, it's a young wine, 2015. Now, it says on the label, the Tempos Vega Sicilia. Is that a different, and what's the story behind the Tempos versus the Bodegas? Are they different operations, or what is the...
Well, the idea of Tempos was created 6-7 years ago. And the idea was create a brand like one umbrella under the one is every winery that we have. This is the only one. So Tempos Vega Sicilia is, we make one study about the different names that we can have. And we decide Tempos because, well, the time in the winery is, in the wine business, is absolutely different. No, nothing, you must be patient. All the business today must be for yesterday, not for tomorrow. And in the wine, you must be very, very patient and wait years and years. No, this is the wine. Tempo is time. Tempos is in Latin. No, so this is the reason why we use, and this is the umbrella under the one is all the wineries that we are creating.
Very good. It's an interesting wine, and we have a question of a Pintia collector who's with us, right, Lily? What's the question?
So I know Pablo just mentioned that he thinks this is a wine more to drink in its youth when it's very fresh, but for someone who is aging them a little bit, what is kind of the ideal drinking window? Someone mentioned that they have the 2010 vintage.
See, no, you can drink fresh, but it's a wine that you can age during many years. No, we think that this wine perfectly during 15, 20 years you can drink. No? And our experience from 2001, that was our first vintage, we think that the bottle is very good for the for this kind of wine. No.
So 20 years, no problem.
No problem.
Can I ask another question, since we're now getting into the red wines, and I know there's a lot of differentiation between aging the red wines from Rioja, the Tempranillo, in American oak versus French oak, and kind of what that brings to the wine.
The American oak and the French oak. Well, the French maybe is more, well, these aromas of vanilla, maybe more elegant, but the good American oak is fantastic. We use historically American oak from many, many years. In Vega Sicilia, all the history of Vega Sicilia was used American oak. And all the barrels that we use of American oak is made by ourselves. We have our own cooperage. So the American oak barrels for Toro is made by ourselves in Vega Sicilia. We import the oak from United States every year. We cure the oak during 3 years, and then we make the barrels. No? And if you age well the oak, you cure well the oak, the American oak is perfect for the wines. Obviously, the French say that the French is the best, no? But well, it's
I think they do that for everything. I think that's the French way.
No, but the American, for us, is absolutely important. No, the American oak in the aging process of Vega Sicilia, and maybe sometimes to French people is coming, and we give from the barrels American and French, and they don't know which one is French and which one is American sometimes. No? So, but the American is very, very nice. No?
I have another question about the Pintia. Now, it's 100% Tinto Fino, no blending, nothing.
Blending.
Right.
This region is 100% Tinto Fino, Tinta de Toro. It's called Tinta de Toro.
Is that a difference, or just they call it that because same grape, but just they want to make it their own? Right.
It's the same grape than Tinto Fino or Tempranillo, but our grapes are perfectly adapted to the soil and to the different climate. No? So the personality of the wines is different. So to say maybe.
Go ahead.
Well, I always see in the movies, American movies, no, that people say, "Oh, give me one Cabernet." Well, to say one Cabernet is nothing, because one Cabernet from Bordeaux is different from one Cabernet from Napa or from Australia or from. Obviously, there are some characteristics that are the same, no, but at the end, the soil, the climate, the years make difference, the different personalities in the wine, no?
Right. Well, that's what I'm getting out of this. Like the personality of the grape, to me, is a little bit different than the personality in Ribera or in Rioja, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely different. Here in Toro, the wines are more powerful, more fruity, more. In my opinion, Toro never will produce wine so elegant like is possible in Ribera del Duero. It's impossible, but well, not all the wines must be the same. Right. Bordeaux is Bordeaux, Burgundy is Burgundy.
The climate of Toro, we saw a couple of pictures of the vineyards. It looks very dry, and the soil is very stony. Is that a special soil compared to the other regions?
Yes. Toro is in the surface, there are big stones. It's a little like Châteauneuf-du-Pape region, no?
Okay.
And well, the stones help to the maduration of the grapes, no? So it's different soil. It's very close. It's 100 kilometers, no? But the soil is different. The climate is a little bit warmer than here. Here is very, very cold region. But in Toro, it's a little bit warmer. Normally, the harvest is 15 days before than Ribera del Duero. So the maduration is getting early than here.
Is it a little more south, or is it just closer to the coast?
It's in the west. But if here the altitude of the vineyard is in Vega Sicilia is between 700 and 800 meters over the sea level. In Toro is 600 meters.
Okay, a little lower. Okay.
It's 200 kilometers from Portugal. But in the same Douro River. The Douro River cross León, cross Vega Sicilia, and cross Pintia, or Toro region.
Beautiful. Well, an outstanding wine, something definitely new and exciting. And of course, we have two more reds to talk about. One is one of the famous wines, Valbuena, I guess is how it's known, right? So this is a Vega Sicilia wine, right? Under the Vega Sicilia label. And there's the Valbuena 5. Is there different Valbuenas? How long have you been making this wine? What was the decision to make this wine?
Well, Valbuena is produced from the beginning. Vega Sicilia was founded in 1864, so 156 years ago. And at the end of the 19th century, Vega Sicilia started to produce Valbuena, Único, and Reserva Especial. Before there was another Valbuena, Valbuena 3rd and Valbuena 5th. This is Valbuena 5th, And the expression Valbuena third or Valbuena fifth was because are wines that are released in the third and in the fifth year after the harvest. This is the reason why it's called Valbuena fifth. Today, 1987, we decide to finish to produce Valbuena third, and we only produce Valbuena fifth and Único and Reserva Especial. But Valbuena is elaborated with the younger vineyards from Vega Sicilia, but we never use the grapes until the vineyard has 11 years old, because we consider that between the third and the 10, both included, the vineyard is a baby, and then the quality cannot be great. No? So we start to use the grapes in the 11th year until here normally 65, 70 years old. That we consider that the vineyard is getting older and is necessary to renovate. No? Okay. Vega Sicilia, the founder of Vega Sicilia, he brought from France many different kind of French varieties. He brought Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Malbec, Carmener, Pinot Noir, many different varieties. Today, we only have 2 French varieties, Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, and the 90% of the vineyard is Tinto Fino. But are vineyards that in different replantation is living in Vega Sicilia from 156 years old. So our vineyards absolutely adapted to these special soils. Vega Sicilia has classified 19 different types of soils. And all the property has 1,000 hectares, and we have 200 hectares of vineyard. The rest of the soils we consider are not great to produce a great wine. And so, for example, this first wine, the Valbuena fifth, in that time we use Malbec too. So this vintage has Cabernet, have Tinto Fino, has Merlot and Malbec. Was a very dry year, or very dry, no, very cold year. The summer was very cold. Everybody was saying that that it was very warm, but at the end was very cold. So our wines very elegant, and the blend of the three varieties that I told.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I had no idea this wine has such a long history, because you never see really old vintages of this wine. You see old vintages of Único in the market, but you never see super old vintages of Valbuena.
See, because maybe the people, well, normally the people keep more time the Único and drink very quickly the Valbuena. And
what's the oldest Valbuena you have at the Bodegas? I'm curious.
It's from the 70s.
70s.
Okay. Some of them we bought in the market, because normally Vega never keep bottles from Valbuena. Now, yes, but in the old time we never keep. So when we bought Vega Sicilia, there was not bottles of all Valbuenas. No?
Right. So if anybody out there sees any Valbuenas older than 1970, to call you and you will buy from them.
No, nobody call. I think that everybody drink.
I haven't seen it ever.
Someone said that they recently had a 1978 Valbuena, and they said it was amazing. And then we got a question earlier before the session began asking about your favorite vintages of Valbuena in the last 20 years.
In the last 20 years, 2004, 99. Last night, we drank one bottle of Valbuena 99 and was very, very nice. No? And recently, 2010, 11, this decade is very, very good in general, no? Except the 13, but all the decade is great wines. No? So the Valbuena is a wine that can age long time, no? Age very, very well. And normally the people drink very quickly. This is the normal. But now we are keeping some bottles for the future from every vintage of Valbuena. No? That is, I think that in the traditional idea of the first and the second wine, Valbuena is not really a second wine. No? Valbuena is more than a second wine. And many years it's a great, great wine. No? And we produce many, many bottles, no? Because this vintage is 15,000 cases, no? So it's a big production for the quality of this wine, no?
Yeah, yeah. How would you consider the, so I was going to ask you, how do you consider the three wines made under the Vega Sicilia label? Are they siblings? Are they related? Do they have their own separate identity? How do you consider the family of the three wines? What is the relation?
Well, maybe Valbuena and Único is different siblings, and the Reserva Especial is another style of wine, no? Vega Sicilia, Reserva Especial is maybe is the more Vega Sicilia wine that we produce, no? Because it's at the end is the wine more elegant, more complex, can age during many, many years. Well, my experience the oldest Reserva Especial that I drank was released in 1952 and was wines from the 40s. And still was very, very nice, no? Obviously, the Unico is the more famous wine that we produce. It's not produced every year. The years that we consider the quality of the wines, the grapes is not so good. We decide we don't produce Unico. For example, in the 90s, 92, 93, and 97, we didn't produce. And the years that we produce, we can produce between 3,000 and 10,000 bottles, depending of here in this region, the climate is very, very hard. If you want to maintain the level of the quality, it's necessary to move every year so much the production. The oldest Valbuena that I saw, don't taste, was 1898. And the oldest one that I drank was 1915. I drank in Rio de Janeiro in the house of one big collector of wine that he make a tasting of 110 wines from Vega Sicilia. No?
Wow.
Maybe the biggest tasting of Vega Sicilia that I ever saw, no?
Yeah.
And well, really, I think that I thought that the 1915 must be died, but still I was very surprised because the wines you can drink perfectly the wine, no? Obviously, it was younger. When it was younger, it was better, no? But still you can drink. No, is something that no good. No.
Well, now you're speaking my language. When you say 1915 and 110 wines at an event, you're speaking my language. That's what, you know, that's what I like to do. We've done some great tastings. Of course, we did a tasting back to, I think, 1917.
He had a bottle of 1915 that night. And I think it was shot, but the 1917 was the second youngest wine, and we did 1917, 1921, 1922, and then into
right. And the winemaker was there, and as you know, that was one of the greatest wine nights of my life. And now we obviously talk about Unico, which to me is one of the greatest wines in the world, and an amazing wine, not only for the longevity. I mean, the way that it can age is as good as any wine in the world. I mean, that tasting proves to me, you know, it can age 100 years, no problem. What makes Unico so special? Why is it such a special wine to you?
I don't know. We really, well, we think that it's something that happened in this soil and in this climate, no? And with these vineyards that we have, because, for example, Vega Sicilia was founded in 1864. During 70 years until 1927, Vega Sicilia was the only wine winery in the region that today is Ribera del Duero. And during 70 years, all the replantation was made with our own vineyards. So nobody thought that Vega Sicilia made a massal selection during many, many years. And are very special. I think that the patrimony of Vega Sicilia is the vineyard. We have a fantastic vineyard, something unique, and make the wines different. I don't know if it's the best or not, but it's a great wine, no? A great wine, and with one great personality, and wines that age long, long time. We don't know why. Even it's something curious, no? Because now, obviously, with the time, Vega Sicilia adaptate little by little the wines. Today likes the wines more fresh, little bit more fresh. Before, the wines was aged long, long time in a cask, and when was bottling was wines maybe with more evolution, with more tire, no? But it's curious that you open now one wine there from 1942 and still is young. So in bottle, maintain alive perfectly, no? But the true, I can say many, many things, but really we don't know is the nature. I think it's something that, thanks to God, we cannot control yet. Because if we control the nature, the wine is finished. No? So I think that it's important that we cannot control the nature, and every year the nature make small miracles, no? With the wines in different regions where the wines are authentic works of art, no?
And that, you know, it's interesting because it's pretty much the latest release of pretty much any wine that I know of in the world. It ages 6 years. What's the aging process before it comes to market now?
Now is we use French and American oak, approximately 50-50. After the French oak barrels, we renovate every year. But American oak barrels we use until 5 years, during 5 years. And it's important to age more time the Único in this kind of barrels. But Vega Sicilia always use big tanks of oak of 20,000 liters of capacity.
Right.
So normally today the Único stay in barrels, in barric, in small barrels and big tanks during 4 years and a half before we bottle and keep another 4 or 5 years before release.
It's a combination of barriques and the giant
Big
foudres.
tanks, yes.
Okay.
So are big tanks that are historically is used in Vega Sicilia, and then we maintain the Unicos. When we made the final blend, we keep in these big tanks during 1 year, 1.5 years before watering. And in the beginning of the aging, we used this kind of tanks to age Unico.
It's a super, it's one of my favorite wines. You know, not only is it one of the great wines of the world, it's one of like the most unique wines of the world, which is what, you know, there's 20 great Bordeaux and there's 20 great Burgundies, but there is nothing in Spain like Vega Sicilia. I mean, you have the wine that is like by far and away like its own category, which is and it's so unique, which is very exciting to me, which is why I like to share Vega with the collectors and open it up all the time, because I think it's one of the great unique wines. Like you said, it has its own personality that you can't really compare it to anything else.
Yes. See, really, this is true that there are not another wine maybe like this in Spain. And I remember this collector who organized the tasting of 110 wines from Vega. That is a big collector. I am sure that you know him. That he told that for him, Vega Sicilia is the more consistent wine in the world. No? There are not big pintas, but pintas. No. Vega always release only the great wines. So obviously ones are better than other ones. No? But always the quality is very high. And if not, we don't put in the market.
Right. That reminds me of, like, you know, some of my favorite Vegas right now to talk to people about are 65, 67. Everybody wants to talk about 62 and 68 and 70. And I'm like, hey, if you want to spend, you know, 1/3 or half the price, you should try 65, 67, 66. I mean, those are delicious right now, but it's kind of, you know, I think the world suffers from, you know, like you said earlier with the French, like if it's not, the vintages are different in Spain, right, than in France. So some people say, oh, 65, it was a horrible vintage in France, so it must be horrible in Spain too, you know, right? No. There's that mentality, but it's not the truth.
No, we are 700 kilometers from Bordeaux, so it's nothing to compare, no? And for example, Vega has, I don't know if you taste before the 1981, no? 81 is incredible vintage for Vega Sicilia, no? Was a small vintage, is one of the vintages that we didn't produce Valbuena because the production was small, but was so great, and then we decided to keep all the production for Unico. And today, the Unico 81 is incredible. I am sure that there are not another 81 in the world like the Unico, no? But for us was a great vintage.
Yeah, and it's the relative value for those of you that buy older wines in auction. I mean, compared to, like, you know, 70 is like, you know, and I want to talk about the 70 because I have a very personal story about that, but like the 70, the 68, the 62, you know, you get older, the price of those wines compared to some of, you know, the younger wines, the 80s, I think is a great place to be buying and stocking up on your wine because they haven't, you know, hit that price spike that some of the, you know, the older wines have hit, particularly the 70, which is particularly a personal wine for me because I was working in the store at Acker in the late 90s when that wine was released. So why that wine was released so late compared to everything else? So what made you release that wine or hold that wine longer? And are you holding any other vintages like that for a later release, or now it's more you're on this 10-year, kind of schedule?
Well, maybe the 70 is one historical vintage in Spain. No? Is considered, maybe considered in general. No, I don't think so that is true, but is considered one of the more fantastic vintages in all Spain, in Rioja, in Ribera mainly, or mainly in Vega Sicilia. So this is one exception, that Vega Sicilia keep long time this vintage before release. For many people, well, it's very famous. I don't know why, because maybe the journalists make very famous this vintage. No, but for me, I love the 62 many years ago. No, for me, 62 is, I like more than 70. But well, I respect the. But is maybe the vintage that everybody has some bottles. I don't know if we take all the bottles that the people tell me that they have 70, maybe it's more than one vintage production, because, well, everybody loves or speak, because some people speak about the 70 but never taste before.
But you released it a lot later. I mean, you didn't release it for 27, 28 years.
25. We
25,
keep
okay.
long time in bottle, long
Was
time
that
in big
unusual?
cans.
Is that unusual, or you do that
No.
for other years?
It's something unique,
Right.
unique and never existed before and after. One example like this in Vega Sicilia always has been between 8 and 14 years that we keep and we release.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
So the
Right.
70
So
maybe because it was a historical, they decide to keep more time, long time.
But I think that's why more people talk about the 70, because you released it 10, 12 years later. So there's more in the market because you have a decade where people didn't drink like normally. So there's more bottles for people to have. And, you know, I'd like to see you try it one more time. Your next great vintage, you know, maybe we could buy some futures. We can wait 10 years, you know, to have the release. It might be a nice thing to try again. I mean, because it was just like, wow, 1970 coming out in 1995, you know, and that was when I was first starting to work. I mean, it was a very exciting thing and a unique thing, but that was something special to me. And we have some special questions from some of the guests also that Lily's going to share with us.
Certainly. So one thing that I'd love to talk about first before we move into the next wine is you talked a little bit about nature and not being able to change nature. And has global warming affected the growing, harvesting, and winemaking of Vega Sicilia?
Not so much. I don't know. The people speak about the global warming. 2 days ago, we had in the morning at 6:30 in the morning, 2.7 degrees. And we are in June.
Yeah.
So I think that in the last 20, 30 years, the people change so much the work in the vineyard. The people reduce the production because was in mode to make wines with too much concentration, too much color, too much of everything. The people make always a big green harvest during the vegetative period, no? So, well, I understand that some years, I think that I am working here 37 years ago, and I remember in the 90s was very dry, in the 70s rained so much some years. So I don't know. I think that the climate is changing permanently, and there are periods. Obviously, I understand that the human being must work to keep in good condition the place where we live, no? But I think that the climate is changing permanently, no? It's a joke, but I say that the UK need 4,000 billion, 500 million years to produce champagne, no? So, I don't know. Well, I respect that we must take care of the nature, no? Of the soils, of the everything, and the human being is the first guilty of these things, no? But after that, the climate is permanently changing, no? And there are one decade with one condition and the other ones with another conditions. We, normally we make the harvest in October, in the middle of October. I remember 30 years ago, no? Today, but I repeat, we change the work in the vineyard. We can have between the end of September and the 10 first days of October. So it's not moving so much, no? Well, I understand that 2003 was a very, very warm year. Or I think that in Burgundy, I think that the vineyard is coming very early, and maybe at the end of August they start to work. Well, I understand, but I don't know. It's not will be like this, no? No, always, because if not, in 10 years we must make the harvest in June, no?
Let's hope not.
It's very. I think it's very, very something very complex to say, no? And the vineyard is adapted. The vineyard is very clever and very, very hard, very, very hard tree, and it's adapting permanently to the climate, no?
I know we mentioned it already, but can we talk a little bit about the Reserva Especial and how that came to be initially, before your time, but why you make that blended wine?
Sí, well, Reserva Especial is the more, the more historical wine from Vega Sicilia, no? We don't know why start to produce this kind of wine, but maybe is the winemaker many years ago who the owner start to produce a wine for himself, and he used different vintages to make the Reserva Especial. From every Único, we keep some liters for the Reserva Especial. And always is a blend of 2 or 3 different vintages of Único. We keep in big tanks of oak, and is a very, very elegant, very fresh, it's a fantastic wine. No? Is the wine that Vega Sicilia can produce in this climate. No? It's a perfect wine, and now it's very famous because I think in Spain all wineries produce Reservas Especiales, but everybody finished to produce this kind of wine. But Vega Sicilia, the production is small; it's 20,000 bottles maximum. No? But we maintain this tradition, and I think it's important to maintain the old tradition of the wineries, but trying to improve more and more the quality of this wine. No?
But how many releases will there be every decade? Is there 3 or 4, or is it how many are you?
Depend of the. For example, in the 90s, there was 3 vintages, 92, 93, and 97. In the 80s, 84 and 88, we didn't produce Único. In the 2000, only 1 year, 2001. But the rest of the years in the decade, for example, you have 2002, that we only produce 40,000 bottles. And 2010 that we produced 120,000 bottles. So depending of the year, we lose part of the production that we have for the climate.
So you use just.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. It's my bad English. My wife correct to me. Well, yes, always the Reserva Especial always is 2 or 3 vintages, normally
Right.
3, but there are some vintages of Reserva Especial that we only use 2 vintages to make the Reserva Especial.
Okay,
Always,
but is it always, so is it the vintages you don't make Unico, or is there some?
No,
Okay.
always Único. From every Único that we made, we keep some liters for the Reserva Especial.
But the vintages you don't make Unico still go into, also blend in, or no?
No.
What do you do with the
No.
grapes that you don't make Unico that year? What do you do with
Well,
those?
normally we make Valbuena, part of the grapes is used for the Valbuena, and the ones that the quality is not so good, we refuse or we sell to another wineries, but we don't produce any one wine, another wine in the winery. So we select. At the end, we have for Vega Sicilia 100 for Vega Sicilia and Valbuena, 150 hectares, and the average is 2,000 bottles per hectare. So it's very, very low production because we select a lot the different parcels. We have 40 different parcels in Vega Sicilia, and I don't know why, but there are not one parcel that always is the best. I don't know why this year is this parcel and the next year is the one is closed, and we don't know why. So depend of the year and the quality of every parcel to decide which quantity of wine we will produce and which one of them. But normally in the harvest, we know this.
I have one question left as a summary, kind of, and there's a sommelier who's watching, and he's curious if there would be like one sentence or two that you would use to best summarize Vega Sicilia, to say to a guest at a restaurant, how you would kind of almost sell the wines or summarize the wines.
How sell the wine?
If you were a sommelier.
Taste the wine ever, and they said, "What is Vega Sicilia? Tell me, what is this wine, Vega Sicilia? How would you describe it?"
Something unique, different. It's interesting because it's different. It's a great wine, but different.
Perfect.
John? And I think I would describe it as one of unique is for sure one of the great wines of the world. One of the wines that really excites me. You know, this Unico, even this 2009, I usually don't drink, you know, the Unicos this young. I like to have the ones in the 80s, 70s, you know, because I know how great they are. But even this 2009 makes me think, you know, maybe I should open up a younger Unico a little bit more often, because, I mean, this is a beautiful, very tasty. You can see the signature characteristic. I mean, it's an exciting wine, as it always is.
2009 you can drink now and in the next 30 years perfectly, no?
You know, 30, I usually think 100 when I think Vega Sicilia, so I like,
well, okay.
I don't know, I won't live to 150. So but I think you could drink these wines. I think these are 100-year wines, and there are not that many wines that can do it, because we've tasted them, the 1917s and 21s and 22s and all these crazy wines. I mean, they are great. Yes. If you have a great bottle, of course, you know what you need. Well, Pablo, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see you here. I can't wait to see you, whether it's in Spain or New York. And, you know, your wines are amazing, and really a big treat. And thank you for all you do. Keep up the good work, and you know, get some more, finish that new project. We need some new wines from you.
Thank you very much to you, all of you, and apologize for my bad English.
Thank you so much.
Maybe I cannot explain all that I would like. Okay.
Thank you. Fantastic. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Yes, thank you.